Good morning, my friends. It's Mrs. Love here. You're watching this video because I could not be here today. So I recorded our lesson for you. Please listen to this whole video. This is a time for us to get ready for our test on Monday. We're going to just cover some of the topics we've learned in Unit 4, but most of your studying you will be doing on your own time. I am just going to give you some guidelines on what to review. Before we get to that review, I just want to remind you of next week's schedule. This is going to be posted in your class announcements this afternoon, so you can go ahead and read through this and make sure you know what you are supposed to be doing next week for history class. We will not have live sessions. It is teacher conferences, and then we will be on our holiday break. So this is your job to know what you're required to do and for you to be checking your emails, checking your class announcements every day. Don't skip anything. This is how you're getting marked for attendance, and this is how you're getting graded for your work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Okay, let's see. So, Unit 4 test review. I have a list here of all of the lessons that we did in Unit 4. There are 9 of them. If you go to your online school and go to each lesson, Unit 4 Lesson 1, Unit 4 Lesson 2, Unit 4 Lesson 3, you will find under each of those lessons is something called class slides. These are the slides I share with you in class. What I would like you to do to prepare for our test is to go into each one of those lessons and review those slides. I also have placed in the review section of your online school for Unit 4 review, there's a study guide. There are lists of readings, lists of videos, some of the stuff that we did in class, so you can go through and look at any of those things that will help you prepare for your test on Monday. It is your job to make sure you study. If you do not study, you are not going to do well on the test. All right, before we get to that, I also wanted to give you the answers to our scavenger hunt that we did in class earlier this week. This is also in the class slides that I posted for today, Unit 4 review. So if you want to copy these, you can. You won't be able to copy them from this video, but you can go into the online school and find them there. Remember, I have given you those guided notes that you are supposed to be completing with your reading. This will help you do well on your test. If you have these completed, you can have them beside you while you're taking your test to help you. So if you haven't been doing those, that is a good way to prepare for our test. Okay, so now I'm going to go through each of the lessons and just hit some highlights of what we covered, and I want you to go into those class slides and see if you can find all of these highlights in our class slides for each lesson. So, starting with Lesson 1, Chapter 33. These are the things we talked about, the changes that took place in the relationships between workers and owners in those factories. We talked about the unions. What's a union? What's the purpose of it? How did the public feel about the unions in the beginning? And then we learned about the Haymarket Square incident. If you don't remember what that is, go back and read Chapter 33. In Lesson 2, we were in Chapter 34, and we learned about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. We also met Samuel Gompers, and we learned that he was a different kind of union leader. He started the American Federation of Labor, and we talked about how he was different than the previous union leaders who were those anarchists that did not believe in law. So go in and review Lesson 2. In Lesson 3, Chapter 35, we met Mother Jones, and we learned that she was a champion of child labor. She got the children out of the factories and into schools, and she fought for safe working conditions. Go back to lesson 3 and review Mother Jones. In lesson 4, we learned all about what the free press is. We learned about how the First Amendment gives us the freedom of speech, and in a democratic society, our free press operates like a fourth branch of our government by checking up on our government to make sure they are being honest with the public. We learned about muckrakers and how they expose so much of the wrongdoing going on in our country during the late 19th century. We first met SS McClure and Ida Tarbell, who were some of the most famous muckrakers. In lesson 5, you did that scavenger hunt. Remember, you can go back into the lesson slides and find the answers. But we learned more about SS McClure, Ida Tarbell. We learned about Upton Sinclair and Lincoln Steffens and how they all did their own investigative journalism to find out the shady business practices happening in the United States. And remember, they were all really good writers. And then we skipped to lesson 7, chapter 38. We met John Muir, who was a preservationist, and he was the man who hiked all over the United States because he loved nature. If you want to watch that video about him again, you can go into lesson 7, or I have a list of videos I'm going to put in the online school for you under our Unit 4 review. We learned about how John Muir, he helped establish a national park system which protects much of our natural lands throughout the United States for enjoyment and preservation. And then the last person we met in Unit 4 was Jane Addams. Jane Addams started the Hull House in Chicago, and she helped the immigrants living in the poor parts of the city. She lived there and established Hull House as a way to educate and assist the people moving into the city so they could live a good life. And then in our last lesson, we talked about population changes in the United States during that time period, how many people went from living on farms to living in the cities and how that changed the makeup of our country. We also learned about looking at population data and what it means. Then we learned about progressivism. In the second part, we did lesson 9 and lesson 10 on the same day. So in the second part of that lesson, we talked about the ways the nation was changing, but how some groups were left out of that. The progressive movement focused on helping the people who they thought were being ignored. And then we talked about the 17th Amendment. So if you can't remember that, go back to lesson 10 and look through chapter 39. For your test on Monday, here's a list of some people that you should know. If you don't recognize them, you can go into your textbook and find each person and find out what they're known for. I'm fairly certain that you will see all of these names on your test next week. Don't forget, in your course materials in the online school, there is a copy of your textbook. We are in volume C like in cat. So you can read through the textbook through the online version. And here's a list of topics you should know about. I have a study guide in the Unit 4 review of your online school, and you can open that study guide and see if you can find all of these things and see if you are familiar with them. So as you're going through here, you can rewind the video and watch it as many times as you want. Pause it where you need to make sure that you are getting everything prepared for Monday's test. Now, here we have a review game. This is like a practice quiz. This is the same game that we usually play in class together, only this time I have assigned it like a homework assignment. so you can play it by yourself. So you're going to go to joinmyquiz.com, enter the code 674089. Make sure you write that down so when you finish this video, you can log in. And I want you to do the Unit 4 review game. The answers, after you complete the game, don't cheat. The answers will be available to you in your online school under the Unit 4 review section. So you can go back and check your answers. You can play this game as many times as you want. So don't forget. Don't forget. All the things that you need to do to review are right here for you. You can be reviewing your guided notes, your history notes that you take in class. You can grab that question set from the quizzes game in your online school and you can read through that. You can read through all the chapters in the book, and there is a study guide and a list of readings in there for you. And of course, all of your class slides from every lesson we did in class together. All right, so don't forget, Monday is test day. You're going to get your test code from your class announcements on Monday. You will have Monday to complete the test, Tuesday, and you will have half of Wednesday. It must be completed by Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon. I don't want you to worry about this over your holiday break. So 2.5 days is more than enough time to complete a test. Other activities will be listed in the class announcements that will be available for you to do. Remember, this is how your attendance is being counted for school on those days, so make sure you do all of the work that is assigned to you. Spend some time this week in studying, my friends. You have to put in the effort to get the results. So I will not see you again until we come back from our holiday break. But if you have questions next week, you can email me and I will answer your emails as quickly as possible. I hope to see some of you in our teacher conferences with your learning coaches. I'm excited to meet them. And please, again, if you need anything, just send an email and I will answer you back as soon as I can. All right, get to studying, my friends, and have a great weekend.